The story of executive outcomes doesn't start in a boardroom. It starts in the shadow of a dying era. You are the tactical recruit, but you aren't a rookie. In this world, Level 1 requires you to already be a master of the craft. You are likely a former member of the 32 Battalion, the Recce's, or the Parabat, elite units from the South African border wars. The year is 1989, and the world is changing. Your country no longer needs your specialized skills, and you are facing a future of quiet unemployment. Then you get the call. A private company in Pretoria is looking for security consultants for a project in Angola. At this rank, you are the foundational asset. You are trading your military rank for a corporate contract. You arrive at a secret training camp, and for the first time, you realize that your mission isn't dictated by a flag or a politician. It's dictated by a balance sheet. The induction is rigorous. You aren't just being tested on your marksmanship, you are being tested on your discretion. Executive Outcomes is the first of its kind, a private army that can provide everything from infantry to intelligence. You are learning the EO way, a blend of high-intensity bush warfare and corporate efficiency. The reality of Level 1 is the contractual shift. You are paid in hard currency, US dollars or British pounds, at rates far higher than any national army. But the trade-off is absolute. You have no government to rescue you if things go wrong. If you are captured, you are just a private citizen on a business trip. You spend your days training with Soviet-era weaponry, preparing to fight against the very equipment you were once taught to destroy. You are becoming a shadow soldier, a man who exists in the cracks between international law and private profit. The psychological weight of this rank is the loss of the uniform. You realize that your identity is now tied to a company logo. You aren't fighting for a cause, you are fighting for a client. You watch your bank account grow, but you also watch your official history disappear. You are the veteran recruit, the elite professional who has realized that in the post-Cold War world, war has become a commodity. You are the muscle that will eventually rewrite the rules of conflict, starting with a single signature on a piece of paper. You have left the training camps of South Africa and landed in the humid, chaotic hot zones of Angola or Sierra Leone. You are no longer just a recruit, you are a bush specialist. At this level, the corporate theory of executive outcomes meets the brutal reality of African jungle warfare. You are part of a small elite corps of a few hundred men tasked with doing what entire national armies failed to do: break the back of a rebel insurgency. Your job is defined by asymmetric mastery. You are fighting in triple canopy jungles where the humidity rots your gear and the visibility is often less than 10 feet. At this rank, you aren't just a shooter, you are an instructor-operator. You spend your mornings training raw local recruits, men who have never seen a structured drill, and your nights leading them into deep reconnaissance patrols. You are teaching them the fire and movement tactics that made the South African border war veterans famous. You are turning a disorganized mob into a force multiplier. The technical challenge of Level 2 is the environmental survival. You are operating in a non-permissive wilderness with zero local support. You have to be a master of land navigation without GPS, relying on the stars and the rhythm of the bush. You are learning to identify the sound of a rebel ambush before it happens and how to manage jungle fever when your medical supplies are low. The $3,000 per day dream is earned here through pure physical endurance. You are living on rattles, armored vehicles, and dried rations, moving through mud that swallows trucks whole. The psychological toll is the isolation of the mercenary. You are a white soldier in a black nationalist war, working for a private company that the world's media calls dogs of war. You realize that the rebels don't see you as a soldier, they see you as a target with a high price on his head. You stay alive because of your discipline and the bond with the men to your left and right. You are the jungle fighter, the one who proves that a small professional group can control a territory larger than most European countries. You have moved beyond the infantry line and into the cockpit or the commander's hatch. You are now a technical operator, the specialized core of executive outcomes' total package philosophy. While other PMCs of the era were just providing guards, EO was the first private entity to deploy heavy, mechanized firepower. You are the specialist who operates the Steel Rain, the M24 Hind gunships, the Su-25 strike jets, and the BMP-2 armored fighting vehicles. At this rank, you are a master of integrated force. You aren't just flying a helicopter, you are a corporate asset providing close air support to the bush specialists on the ground. The rebels you were fighting, like UNITA in Angola or the RUF in Sierra Leone, have never faced a coordinated combined arms attack. You use the M24 Hind not just as a weapon, but as a psychological tool. The sound of your rotors alone is often enough to break the enemy's morale. You were trained to fly nap of the earth, skimming the jungle canopy to avoid detection before appearing like a ghost to deliver a devastating strike. The technical challenge at level 3 is maintenance in the void. You are operating complex Soviet machinery in the middle of a desert or a rainforest. There are no official spare parts coming from the manufacturer. You have to be a MacGyver of military hardware. You and your crew of mechanics are the ones who keep the engines running with scavenged parts and black market logistics. You are proving that a private company can maintain a higher operational readiness than most national air forces. Your value is your ability to keep the steel in the air when everything else is breaking down. The $3,000 per day rate is justified by your lethal efficiency. One Hind gunship, piloted by an EO veteran, can do the work of 1,000 infantrymen. You realize that you are the scale tipper. When the ground team is pinned down in a jungle clearing, you are the one who provides the vertical envelope that allows them to survive. You are the technical operator, the man who brought the heavy metal of the Cold War into the private sector, changing the face of African conflict forever. You have transitioned from the pilot's seat and the jungle floor into the role of the sector commander. You are now the ground lead, the tactical brain responsible for an entire region of the war zone. In the executive outcomes hierarchy, this is where the corporate meets the combat. You aren't just winning firefights, you are managing a high-stakes business project where the product is stability and the cost is measured in lives and logistics. At this rank, your primary tool is synchronized command. You are the one who coordinates the total package. In a single morning, you might manage a satellite intelligence brief, authorize a long-range patrol for the bush specialists, and coordinate a Steel Rain airstrike. You are the link between the soldiers in the mud and the executives in the Pretoria office. You have to be a master of resource allocation, knowing exactly how to stretch a limited supply of fuel, ammunition, and clean water across a territory the size of a small country. The technical challenge at level 4 is independent decision-making. You are operating in a no-backup environment. There is no national government coming to save your sector if it falls. You have to make audibles that determine the fate of the contract. If a rebel force is moving toward a diamond mine you are paid to protect, you have to decide whether to defend the position or counterattack their base of operations. You are managing the deniability of your men, ensuring that their actions remain within the gray zone of the contract. The psychological weight at this level is the weight of the men. You aren't just a soldier anymore, you are a manager of veterans. These are men you've served with for years, and now you are the one signing their mission orders. You realize that your value isn't your ability to shoot, it's your ability to think 3 days ahead in a land where the weather, the politics, and the enemy change by the hour. You are the sector commander, the one who ensures that the shadow army operates with the precision of a Swiss watch in the middle of a jungle nightmare.
You have left the humidity of the jungle and the grease of the helicopter hangar behind. You are now a strategic architect, the negotiator who operates from the high-security corporate offices in Pretoria or the luxury suites of hotels in Freetown and Luanda. At this rank, you are no longer managing squads. You are managing national interests. You are the one who sits across from presidents, ministers of defense, and the CEOs of global mining giants like De Beers or Branch Energy. Your primary weapon is diplomatic leverage and resource financing. Executive Outcomes was famous for a specific business model: security for resources. When a government was too broke to pay your multi-million-dollar monthly fee in cash, you were the one who negotiated the mining concessions. You traded your shadow army's blood for the rights to diamond mines and oil fields. You were a master of geopolitical chess, ensuring that the company's presence isn't just a military intervention, but a long-term economic partnership that makes the client and the company unbelievably wealthy. The technical challenge at level 5 is total logistics and deniability. You are the one who procures the end-user certificates for the Mi-24 Heinz and the T-72 tanks through complex international networks. You have to ensure the supply chain remains invisible to the United Nations and the international press. You are managing the corporate image of a private army that is effectively winning wars that the UN couldn't. You are the one who answers the phone when a foreign embassy demands to know why private citizens are flying combat missions in their airspace. The psychological weight of this rank is the cost of the big picture. You are no longer looking at individual soldiers. You are looking at assets on a spreadsheet. You realize that your value at $3,000 per day isn't your tactical skill. It's your ability to convince a desperate president that your company is the only thing standing between them and a coup. You are the strategist, the man who turned the dogs of war into a corporate solution, creating a blueprint for the modern private military industry that would eventually be copied by Blackwater and the Wagner Group. You have reached the apex of the private war. You are no longer a soldier, a pilot, or even a negotiator. You are the shadow director, the founder. At this level, you have built something that the world hasn't seen since the days of the East India Company, a private corporate entity with the power to topple regimes, end decades-long civil wars in a matter of weeks, and rewrite the borders of a continent. You are the architect of the Executive Outcomes legacy. Your primary weapon is geopolitical architecture. You don't just respond to a crisis, you predict them. You manage the grand strategy, the delicate balance between military success and international political survival. At this rank, your biggest enemy isn't a rebel army, it's the United Nations, the U.S. State Department, and the international media. You are the one who has to defend the corporate combat model to a world that is terrified of it. You realize that your company is too efficient. By winning wars quickly and cheaply, you have made the traditional, slow-moving diplomatic systems look obsolete. The technical challenge at level 6 is controlled dissolution. You are the one who sees the end coming before it arrives. You recognize the anti-mercenary laws being written in Pretoria and the pressure from Washington. You are the strategist who has to decide when to fold the hand, to shut down the company before it is destroyed from the outside. You manage the transition, ensuring that your men, your hardware, and your mining concessions are moved into sister companies or consultancies that can continue the work under different names. You are a master of organizational rebirth. The final realization of the shadow director is the invisibility of power. You sit in a quiet room, watching the news as a country you once saved descends back into chaos because your contract was canceled. You realize that you proved a private company could be more effective than a world superpower, but the world wasn't ready for that truth. You have reached the $3,000 per day peak, but your name will never be in the history books as a hero. You are the founder, the man who created the blueprint for every modern PMC, from Blackwater to Wagner. You are the Shadow Army's first and last true master.